Hey, welcome back to Frank's Model Works. I'm Frank. Here it is. It's the beginning of my tutorial on adding a mod top to your model car. Now, in order to do this, let's provide some history and context. In 1969, the Chrysler Corporation recognized a market for the muscle cars that are so pervasive throughout the industry at that period in time, and that was women. And they thought, how can we directly market these vehicles, sport vehicles, like almost like personal luxury vehicles, to women? And their idea was, well, let's give it some stylish, for the time, appointments that will draw female buyers into the dealerships so that we could sell more cars, which, you know, okay, I guess was an idea. It turns out that the mod top and the floral top, and we'll get to the distinction in a moment, was a sales failure, an abysmal failure. There weren't very many. I'm going to link in the description to a website if you want to do some research on mod tops and floral tops. It's an invaluable resource run by very, very nice people, very friendly, and really just a great resource and a good source of inspiration for this type of vehicle. Now, in model cars, mod tops and floral tops are very, very popular. There's a lot of attention in the model car hobby to things that are unique. And as model car builders, we have more of a, well, we've granted ourselves more of an artistic license when it comes to building models. In other genres of modeling, such as aircraft and armor and stuff like that, the builders in those genres are less interested in what if, you know, or a speculative type of thing than we are. We have entire categories, and when you go to a show, factory stock, documented replica stock, they're smaller categories than custom street rod, most of which are speculative. It's just a person saying, you know, putting something, taking their ideas and making them into a three-dimensional replica reality. So we have the ability to do that, and the mod top, even though they weren't really widely available on a lot of models, you can basically put them on anything you want, because in the real world, especially at the time, what you could get from the factory was not the limit of what you could get. At the dealer level, pretty much anything, if you had the money, pretty much anything would go. So, from a historical standpoint, in 1969, if you bought a Satellite or a Barracuda from Plymouth, you had the option of adding this color scheme to the vinyl top. This is what's known as the mod top. On a Plymouth, it's a mod top. They also had, and I'll try to flash these up, a yellow scheme that was also available on Barracudas, and I don't think you could get it on the Satellite. But then again, at the dealer level, anything goes. Now, as far as Dodges go, you could get the green pattern floral top, which some of you have seen. I did on a 1969 Dodge GTS. I had a build series. And this is actually, that featured build video is what brought this video series about. People were asking me, well, how do you do it? I'm going to show you how I do it. But for the green scheme, which was only available on Dodges, you could get that on a Coronet, which, coincidentally, you could get, and there is an example of one, a 440 6-pack, A12, coronet with the green floral top. You could also get it on a Dodge Dart. Now, from the factory, you could only get these vinyl tops on specific colors. So for the Dodge, F6 green, white, and black were the only colors that from the factory you could get the floral top on for a Dodge Dart or a Coronet. For the blue pattern, you could only get that on cars that were painted blue, white, and I think that's it. As far as the yellow pattern, the green colors that were available for Barracudas, I don't think it was available on Satellites. It's like it gets a little murky, and I'm sure I'll be corrected in the comments because it's YouTube. And in 1970, because the sales were so abysmal for '69 for all of these, in 1970 it was, I don't even think they put them on a Satellite. And if you find a Barracuda that actually came with the yellow pattern on it, super rare. There's some that are said to exist. Now, as far as the dealer level, you can get anything you wanted. You want to put a blue floral top on a green car? Sure. You got the money? It was one of those. Whether or not you had to order the car from the factory with a vinyl top already on it, I don't know. But for the purposes of this series, the thumbnail is going to be the Dodge Dart that I already built. But I'm going to be adding a mod top blue pattern, wait a minute, onto a Dodge Charger from 1969. Like I said, if you had the Scarol, you could get whatever you wanted. So, that's what I'm going to do. So, let's take a look and see how we started. Now, this portion of the video that you're about to see, I think I filmed that on, I'm pretty sure I filmed that on July 3rd. And I was working out in the Hamptons on that day. That day, out there, was bumper to bumper traffic. It was a long day. And keep in mind, I'm over by the spray booth and I'm shooting solvent-based paints. So it's exactly the type of behavior you're going to expect. So let's take a look. Just popping in for a very quick interjection. I didn't mention this in the introduction, but if the car that you're building doesn't have a molded in vinyl top like the '69 Charger that I'm building, there is a tutorial for adding a vinyl top. The bows and the trim that goes around and the seams that go across the roof. That's a tutorial done by Marcos Cruz. There will be a link down in the description. I've mentioned the tutorial several times, but because of the subject matter, this is likely going to be searched and be seen by people who don't normally watch my videos. So, check the description down below of this video, and you're going to see a link to Marcos's video on adding a vinyl top to your model car. All right? Let's get into the craziness over by the spray booth. We are set up over at the spray booth, and I have a confession to make. But before I make this confession, I want to ask you something. Tell me the truth and don't spare my feelings. Are my glasses on my head? They're on my head, aren't they? I was just looking for these for like 5 minutes. The confession. The confession that I have to make is that I screwed up. I know, it's a shock, right? On one side, the texture is not up to par, and it's just not looking right. And even though this roof is going to get a mod top, and yes, I know I said mod top, and even though it's a Dodge, it should be a floral top, and yes, I know you couldn't get a floral top or a mod top, and especially the blue pattern on a Charger. I know all of these things. Neckbeard. But I'm going to put it on here because I think it looks cool. And because I want to do it. And so, big whoop, what are you going to do? So anyway, I'm not pleased with the texture that I created on this side. It's okay on this side. It's not okay on this side. And I can't get it to texture the way I want to. And every time I try, it's not really matching the other side and the roof. The other side and the roof match, but I might have mentioned this a time or two. I'm kind of stupid, so I just can't do it. So rather than orangutan smash everything in this basement, I'm just going to use, I didn't need that pipette, MCW Automotive Finishes white texture gloss lacquer with a little teensy tiniest touch of MCW Automotive Finishes light buckskin gloss texture gloss lacquer. So I don't know what's in these things. I probably wouldn't understand anyway, but when you spray them on, when they dry, they dry to like a textured finish that looks like a vinyl top. You've seen the vinyl tops that I've done in my models. It's got a texture to it. So what I did wind up doing was flattening down the roof. The seams are still in it, so the hard part's done. The hard part is putting the seams in it. The texture of the vinyl is the easier part of the whole thing, you know, if you're not a moron like Frank. So that's what we're gonna do. So I apologize, but I could have just painted it and nobody would ever have known, but I would have known. And it's a question of honor. I don't. I mean, you really are. You're very nice people for putting up with all this crap. You really are. I mean, everybody must love you, folks. I would have given me the heave-ho a long time ago, just saying. That is all of the light buckskin I want to give it. And I'm going by the way that I painted the floral top for the green dart that I have in my YouTube channel. You're on a YouTube channel, Frank. I am. Oh. That's a camera? All right. Yeah, it was one of those days at work. It's hot out there. It's hot. I've been doing it for... This is my 27th summer. It's getting to me. The heat. So if anybody knows how texture paint, especially MCW's texture paint works, put it down in the comments. Let me know. I'm afraid to ask. I'm sure Michael Guest is a really nice man. I have no reason to believe that he wouldn't be, but the amount of force that's required to open one of these bottles makes me very afraid of him. I'm physically frightened of the man. So I don't want to ask him like, oh, what's the trade secret to your texture paint? I don't want to do that. Next thing you know, the guy's twisting my head. He wouldn't do that. He's a nice guy, I think. I don't know. One of those days. One of those days. Now, the reason why I'm adding a little bit of buckskin to the mix here is I found that the way the decals that I use for the floral and the mod tops, which I'm not going to provide the link for anymore. Hopefully at some point somebody will go on the internet and look at the mod top registry, where they have examples of all of the patterns of mod tops and floral tops, and perhaps maybe create a file that would then be able to be printed out onto clear decal paper. I'm not doing it. Don't look at me. I have no intention of doing that. I'm just saying, if one were so inclined, you know, look at internet photos and try to scale it down and then print it out, you know, repeat the pattern over and over again, and then print it out on 8.5 by 11 decal paper, clear. You know, one might be so inclined to do something like that, because my source for them, I don't know what happened, but several people have reached out to me since putting out the video of the dart with the floral top on it, asking if I knew what was going on, because they had placed orders and never received their orders. And I have no interaction with the person who runs that website. You can find Slicks Decals does the yellow scheme, which you saw a lot on Barracudas. So if you're looking to do like a 70 CUDA, Slicks does a decal sheet in the yellow pattern. But as far as the blue and the green, I only knew of one source, and because of the feedback that I received, I'm not getting in the middle of it. I'm not saying anything. I'm not even going to mention the name. I just, I'm not going to provide the link. I provided the link, and people have gotten back to me and saying, listen. So, that's that. But it shouldn't be too hard to do if you find a picture of it on the internet. You go into the Photoshops, create a file. Just so we're clear, I'm not doing it. It ain't gonna be me. Just want to make that crystal clear. Okay. As you saw, I transferred the paint with a pipette, pinky out. So we're just gonna go in. What is my operating? Hey Frank, what? What's your operating pressure? I'll look. Oh, that's too low. So we'll get that to about 15 psi. That might be a little too high. Yeah, we're a skosh. We're a skosh above 15 psi. So like I was saying, I like the off-white color under the floral top / mod top. It imparts a Terrence. It imparts an antique quality that I like. I enjoy it, and I think it looks good. And the colors that are in the decals that I have are saturated enough that I don't have the exhaust fan on. Explains a lot. Although I'm spraying it, so just turn it on, Frank. Stop making excuses. Set the right example. Now you want to put this on with a light touch. Set your trigger, adjustable trigger if you have to, but this is with a light touch. And to be honest, I really like the texture paint. right out of the bottle, comes out spectacular. Really nice texture. And when you're spraying it onto a body that already has the details molded in, it's pretty nice. I should probably tell you that when I masked off the body in order to put the top on, I also masked the chrome trim that goes around the windows. It's very important. But I mean, it's not like you're gonna start spraying as you're watching the video. You got time. But I did mask off the chrome trim because I didn't want to get the texture onto the chrome trim. It does sand off if you get a little overspray. It'll come right off. But you know, why? It depends on, you know, just, do you want the work in the beginning or at the end? It's better to mask it off than have to try to remove it, you know? Also, randomize your spray pattern. Don't go back and forth, and you could even do swirls and just, you know, keep going, do all different. This way you probably won't create one anyway, but why risk it? Just keep it random. Wash is done. The wash is done. I'm doing the wash. You can wait. That'll dry relatively quickly. What I will do, once this is dry, I'm going to take all the tape off, remove any residue, and give it a little while to set. It's fairly resilient as a finish. Let me turn the fan off. It's fairly resilient as a finish, so it stands up to masking. Just, you know, I mean, don't take out a squeegee and really dig it in there. You just, you know, just block it off. If you were to use this as a base, you could probably paint something on top of it without a problem. It's pretty good stuff. It's pretty versatile. I wish I could have given you the way to recreate it by doing the texture, but that's really my fault. It's not that it's a bad technique, it's just a bad practitioner of the technique. His name's Frank. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. I live with a Swiftie. No, she's not really a Swiftie. I believe the lecture I was given was, she likes her, but she's okay. I never got so far as to asking my daughter who she does actually like. She never gets that far in the conversation. She just gets tired of me and walks away. Wonder why. So that is resilient, and I would say you could probably paint over that if you wanted to, just to use it to get the texture. Just put the white over it, and then paint over whatever, like a funky green from like the late 60s or 70s. Give it a shot. I'm sure it wouldn't really affect it too much. If you're gonna do that, I would recommend, so as not to bother, because it is a lacquer, just go light on the thinner that you use. If you're going to use, say, Tamiya acrylic, I would use X20A and not lacquer thinner. Just, you know, less chance of activating it and, you know, causing a mess. Although you don't have to worry as much with crazing, because I think this is crazing, but you never know. So somebody knows what the deal is with this. Or if you want to ask Mr. Guest, go ahead. I'm afraid of him. I'm sure he's a very nice man. It's just, I don't know how he gets these lids on these bottles so tight. I got the carpal tunnel. I'm trying to get them off sometimes. Okay, enough with my crap. I'm sorry. It was one of those days. So that's how we do that. We try to randomize the spray pattern to get it on there. You can mix the colors, whatever you want. Although I don't think I've ever seen a gray vinyl top, but you can do a nice cream one. You know, bright white. This is actually fairly light color. It's definitely not a stark bleached bone white. So you could probably mix this with another MCW paint to make a brighter white. Experiment. What's the mantra? Test off the body. Test off the project. Alright, so what do we have to do now? Okay, we have here the results of my last painting session. In the interim, I have wet sanded and polished the body. Like what I'm seeing. This came out nice. The roof came out nice. I like the way it looks. You don't have to concern yourself too much, like you could see in there on the trim. You're going to be covering that with bare metal foil anyway. Just want to make sure it's relatively flat. There's no flakes sticking up. So I did manage to avoid getting the texture paint on the chrome trim for the most part, which is good. It's going to help me out later. One thing I am noticing though, and I'm going to put up a picture of a 69 Satellite that's being in the process of being restored with a mod top. And one thing that you'll notice in the mod top pattern for the Plymouth is there is no white. You do not see white. And why that becomes an issue for me, and I'm learning this now because I thought there was no spaces. This is the decal I'm gonna be using. I had said that I'm not gonna provide a link, but just organically you're probably going to see a link by showing you this decal. Now, that said, I am not in any way, shape, or form affiliated with the provider of this decal. I cannot offer any type of product support or customer service questions in regard to this product. I am just a user of this product and not an intermediary. I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything about them. And I'm not the guy. So if you have questions about them, ask them. Don't ask me. Not to be rude, but I'll probably just ignore you because I've said it enough. There is this decal is printed on clear decal paper, and you'll notice anywhere where there's white, that's going to show through, and you see a considerable amount of white in here. So because I don't see any white in the actual pattern that's on the roof of the real car, I'm gonna have to paint over this white with a lightish shade of blue, but sufficiently dark enough. And I've arrived at the conclusion that my best bet for that is going to be Tamiya Acrylics XF18 medium blue, which I'm going to probably mix with XF23 light blue to get a color that I can paint onto the vinyl top that'll be a sufficient undercoat for the mod top decal that I'm going to use. So in order to do that, I'm going to mask off the body and then just paint on top. Okay, so I'm going to mask first, set up for that, and then we'll do it. Hold on. I'm going to do 1 part medium blue, 1 part XF18 medium blue to 1 part XF23 light blue. 50-50. There's something about over here that just makes me act like a goofball. So just by the pipette, pinky out, like an aristocrat. Here's about 2 milliliters. When you see me like drop the pipette, it's because I'm putting them in a receptacle so I can clean them out and reuse them. Testers. Remember they used to sell you 6 pipettes on in a package for like $9. Oh, I'm gonna miss testers. I'm not a bit. Gouging. It's cool. I'm not better. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Oh, I gotta redo that because my pinky wasn't out. don't know when I'm gonna learn. So let's mix that thoroughly with our Tamiya paint stirrer wand. So how you guys been? Doing all right? Good to hear. Who, me? I'm okay. You know, it's the summer. It's really busy at work. They're beating us. You know how it is. Just stirring the pot. All right. I also, I don't care how long my videos are anymore. I don't care. If you're the type of person who puts the videos on in the background while you're building, that's cool. But if you're the type of person who sits and watches, I think I'm entertaining enough and I'm giving enough information. I'm tired of listening to people, oh, your videos are so long. So from now on, those people just get blocked. So, there's that. All right. The information's gonna be here. You want to consume it, then consume it. You don't want to watch it? Have a wonderful day. So that is 4 milliliters of thinner to 4 milliliters of paint to begin with. You know what? Let's throw another 2 milliliters in there for good measure, because I'm gonna be dumping the pressure down a lot, and I'm using X20A thinner, the one that smells like isopropyl alcohol. I don't want to do much disturbing of the texture lacquer. Although alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, could definitely disturb lacquer. If you're not hosing it on too heavy, should be okay. Ideally, I would have done this, looked at the decals. I had looked at the decals like, 3 months ago. But, I forgot. We'll see how that looks. Okay, let's not try to go nuts. So the reason why I'm going so low on the air pressure is so I have more control, less overspray, because if you notice I didn't mask off the entire body because I don't want to deal with tape residue. More control is better in the long run. Now if you could see, see if you could see my spray pattern. That's a pretty tight spray pattern. Like, there's not going to be a lot of overspray with that. And this airbrush is a 0.3 millimeter, which you could get pretty tight with. You could get down there pretty close to your subject and put on a relatively light spray pattern. Okay, let's go over there and take a look. Before we go over there, I forgot to remember something. Barrier coat. As I have used in the past for a barrier coat, I'm going to use ALC 600 All-Clad Aqua Gloss Clear. It's a clear acrylic, water-based acrylic coating that will act as a barrier between the decal, but more specifically, the decal solvents that I'm going to use and the paint that's underneath. Most decal solvents contain alcohol and acetic acid. They have been known to dig into acrylic paints, lacquer paints. So you put the barrier coat, believe it or not, this stuff is pretty resilient. It stands up to some stuff. So I'm going to put that on. Not only did I forget to do this, but I took the masking tape off from painting the blue on, and then I realized I had a problem with my airbrush. My airbrush, Terrence has to do his thing. My airbrush, the needle packing, which is in this area right here, must have gotten loose. I didn't keep up with making sure it was tight enough, and paint got from this area all the way to this area, and then once it's in this area, it gets into this area, and taking that apart is fun. But if you check out my airbrushing series, which very few of you have, you'll find a way to fix all that stuff. It just takes a little bit of time. It took me about 45 minutes to clean and fix what was wrong with it, and I had to clean every single part of the airbrush because the paint that's on the roof of the car got to every single piece of this airbrush. It was fun. So this stuff does not like a low operating pressure, so I am going to crank this up a little bit. Where am I? That's about a little bit too high. I can tell by the, at this point I could tell by the sound. So this is, I would say this is right at 20 PSI. On the money. Gotta so lucky to have me. This could use a little bit more, so that's about 22. And you don't have to go nuts with this stuff. Okay, so that should be enough. You see that, a little utility gloss on there. Now, a lot of people, and I've touched on this before, I'm not putting a gloss because I'm worried about silvering. You gotta have some serious funky paint to produce silvering, and that then, and only then, if you have thick decals. For the most part, modern decals tend to be thin, which is why they fold so much, but older decals were a little bit thicker. Glossing before decals, just for the sake of doing it, isn't necessarily mandatory anymore. As long as you're using a reliable solvent, Salvaset, Microset, Microsol, those are all good products. There's a lot out there. You don't really. You could use a hairdryer. There's a demonstration. I gotta see if I can find it. And I keep forgetting to do it. Somebody applying decals to sandpaper. And, you're not going to... What is going on up there? The kitchen right above. Great. So, this gloss is just basically as a barrier between the paint and the solvents that I'm going to use for the decals. So, we'll just leave it at that. Alright? Hold on. And here we have the finished product, ready for the decal. So this does look a little bit subdued, but to be honest with you, the light blue that's on here, when you look at the actual pattern of the Mod Top in the blue pattern, of the three, it is the most subdued. And what the decal provides is the vibrant parts, the vibrant blue and the vibrant green, and the little bits of yellow that are in the pattern are provided on the decal. What's left, what remains, like these little areas of white, with this color, I think it's going to bring out the pattern itself better, whereas leaving that white would have made it more confusing, and it would have skewed this entire sheet. Now, looking at the picture, I'll put the picture of the real thing back up again, and then looking at this looks lighter, whereas the real thing looks dark. So I think this was the right way to go. That said, for the yellow pattern of Mod Top, I would recommend a white base, and as demonstrated with my 69 dot, I actually went through. I'll put up pictures now. I actually tested that pattern, that decal pattern, with a white background and with a green background, and I'll put those pictures up now, and you'll see why I went with a white background. I think that more closely matches. A lot of people, second guessed, oh, you should have made it green. Well, this is what it looked like with green, and then those people stop speaking. So, I'm going to put you back on the tripod and we will sum up this episode. You know who the joke's on? The joke's on the people who are going to email me at my email address in the description and ask me to scan that decal sheet and my other decal sheets and just send them the file. Joke's on them. You know why? If you're watching this part of the video, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. You probably know that I'm not the type of person who would do something like that. But if you're the type of person who would email me and ask me to do that, just know I'm going to ignore you. And then if you ask me about it in the comments, I'm going to block you from watching this channel. That said, next up, it honestly, it needs to be said because people have, even when I posted the dart, pictures of the dart on Facebook, I would get messages. Hey, could you scan that decal sheet and send it to me? No, I can't do that. That's dishonest. It's a dirtbag thing to do. You know, it's somebody else's work. It's somebody else's product, and I'm not going to do something like that. If you know me in person, you know I don't do stuff like that. So, next up in the next episode, we're going to create a template so that we can waste as little of that decal sheet and preserve as much of it as we can so we could get, I mean, the size of that decal sheet, you could probably get 4 cars out of easily. Easily get 4. Do you really want to build 4 mod top blue pattern cars? Sure, why not? So, stay tuned for that. That should be along shortly. As always, I got Frizzo's back. I appreciate your support. I thank you for making it this far in the video if you have. If you have made it this far in the video, put a wink down in the comments like this. And then check back periodically to see if anybody asks me in the comments to scan the decal sheet and send it to them. You won't see them because they're immediately going to get erased. So, until we speak again, my friends, take care of yourselves and be well.